Well, I think it's safe to say Saturday didn't get off to the best start. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video. This is George, and today we'll be looking at Bolton Wanderers versus Lincoln City and analysing a few of the shapes, different movements, how we found space, and what Lincoln did well. It was a frustrating watch on Saturday. They did the dark arts to the maximum, but fair play to them. They came with a game plan, they stuck to it. 18 seconds in, we conceded the first goal. This is the kickoff. As you can see, the start, as you see modern day teams do quite often now, flooding one side of the pitch to play it long. But this man stays spare over here. So as the cross comes in, he's quite a key component actually into why Cogley can't go and help defend it. Steven Schumacher in his post-match interview spoke about this here as a push on Errihan and saying that that was a foul in the build-up. Having watched it, I think it probably was a foul in the build-up. But when a striker's picking the ball up here and then going in the box and scoring when you've got all your players in your defensive half, it's poor. We should have dealt with the second ball from this, definitely. But I did want to highlight this because I do think that the shove on Errihan probably was a foul. Does Errihan need to go and try and get in front of his man to win the header this early on in the game? Or can you stay behind and just challenge for the header if you don't win it? You're still goal side, caused a lot less of a problem. I don't know. I just thought I'd highlight this bit here. But as you can see here, this is when the ball's just coming in, and Toll's body positioning is completely the wrong way, and that's because the forward player is wrestling with Toll. Not enough to give a foul away. He just does enough where he's grabbing over the Toll and he's going to turn him, which means that Toll can't backstep with him to be in the position to get the header out. It is good forward play. Slightly poor defending. I would have liked to have seen Toll maybe just drop off him a little bit into sort of this position here. It's a much safer defensive position, and he's not going to get caught offside from there. But it's very early on in the game. It was a really frustrating one to watch go in, wasn't it? And this man here as well, back post, leaves Cogley with 2, which means Cogley can't go over and help win the header. Maybe Amario can tuck in, but as you can see from the last image, Amario was around here trying to compete with the ball as it was coming long. So I can't blame him too much. He's covered a lot of distance to get into here himself. He's as the ball's in the air and he's about to head it. And as you can see, he's created that yard of space from Toll just by wrestling with him a little bit. And as Toll's now got to turn around to face the ball, that's what creates that little bit of space. As I say, Cogley can't really go across and help because if he misses the ball, there's 2 men waiting back post. It's a good ball in. It's a decent header. Very, very frustrating start from Bolton. But why did we get caught so unaware? Not saying that this caused the goal in any way. The goal happened way too quickly for shape to even be a factor in it. We just got caught completely off guard there. But you saw for the first opening sort of 10-15 minutes, it was a really frustrating slog. We were struggling to get in their half. We were struggling to play. And that's because Lincoln are a very, very good team, especially when they get the lead. But what I wanted to highlight here, this is every other game they've played this season. And Opta has them down as a 4-2-3-1 in every other game. And as you can see, like if you look here, here's the 2 centre halves. You've got your 2 fullbacks. You've got your 1 behind the striker, and your 2 wingers. Same here, your 2 centre backs. They do change it in games, like your fullbacks more in here. And there's your 2. And this is more of a 4-2-2 in my opinion. But again, all that means is that maybe the 10's playing slightly higher up. Same here, you can see the shape. And again, here you can see that shape. But when they played us, they played a completely different formation to this. And I think that threw us off guard to start with. I don't think we was expecting this. If we was, we didn't play like we knew what they were doing to start with. It looked like it took a little bit of figuring out. But just keep an eye on this 22 because his positioning here is a very right centre half player. Again here, right centre back in a 2. But he caused us an awful lot of problems on Saturday. You can see here, this is the pass map against us. It is different. You've got your 1, 2, 3. You've got your wing backs. You've got your 2 midfielders, but in very odd positions for 2 central midfielders. You've got your attacking midfielder. You've got your winger. Maybe even he's the centre mid here, and he's the winger, and he just dropped him really deep. It's a very confusing formation to try and deal with. And what they did really, really well is they found Hamer. As I said last time, he's normally a centre half in a back 2. can play as a right centre half and can play as a wing back. He's a strange profile of player, fits all them roles. But because normally he is in here, physically he's going to outmatch most people in this position, and they utilised that really well. They got it long to him a lot. He won a lot of the first balls, and then they were playing off that second ball, and it was a very good tactic to come with. They stuck to that game plan. We allowed them to get the early goal, and as frustrating as it was that the referee allowed them to time waste as much as they did, you can't blame Lincoln for that. Like if we were going to a team away from home, you nick your first goal. It's a tactic that you have to employ going to certain teams, and they employed it very very well. And they made life very very difficult for us on Saturday. Wanted to highlight this here because it's become a bit of a feature on my channel, that we talk about Amario. It may as well just be a channel on Amario at this stage, but I often talk about how he comes into these roles, and we saw a completely different side to that on Saturday. Now, again, I don't know whether this was because we knew they were going to play that back three, and we're trying to keep him wider to isolate him 1v1. Whereas if he comes in the middle, obviously there's more centre backs, there's more cover to deal with. I don't know whether that's the case. If that is the case, it's very, very good planning. If we was expecting that 4 again, I don't know whether we wanted him to just isolate against this man, and Cogley was going to try some problems. I'm not entirely sure why we set up this way, but I don't think it got the best out of Amario because we saw Cogley move inside quite a lot, and Amario being the one to move and patrol down the wide areas. Now, in the last game, Amario got 7 successful dribbles off, and in this game, he only got 1. So I don't think it helped him creatively at all, really. And again, you could put that down to Lincoln defending better than the other team we played. It could be genuinely as simple as that, that Lincoln defended better than Reading, and Lincoln made it more difficult than Reading. And it's not necessarily on the player or the tactics too much. But we saw him patrolling out here, and we found it an awful lot. Well, I saw an awful lot where it'd get played into his feet, and he'd have 2 men in this position, and he'd just get forced on that right foot, and he'd end up either coming all the way back and having to beat 2 men just to play it back, or we'd end up losing the ball. So it was quite a frustrating watch. We didn't get too much creativity out of this side, especially in that first half. Talking about the dribbles completed 1 in, and that was very late on in the game. Which again, that's a good sign. I'm not saying that's not a good sign. It definitely is. It shows that he's definitely got the fitness and he's got the willingness to keep going right to the end, and that's a very good quality. But you look at the 3 he failed, all from these wider positions. When we looked last week, most he completed a dribble here, he completed 2 or 3 around these positions, he completed 1 here. I think he just got forced too wide, and I don't think that that's going to get the best out of him because he is so left-footed. He can use his right foot because he really wants to get on that left foot so much. The further in you can keep him, the less work he has to do to get onto that left foot. I feel he was a little bit isolated, especially in that first half yesterday. This is where the ball's been played by Sissoko across. Simmons has got his shot off and it's come back to Randall. But I did just want to highlight here that we did get players in the box yesterday. I don't think it was a lack of trying. We definitely put players into the box. We just didn't necessarily find the right options. And again, looking at the amount of players they've got back defending their own box, it's difficult to score past teams when they're playing this deep in their own box. We could have played it a lot quicker than we did at certain times, though. But I just wanted to highlight here again, there's a lot of our players. We've got 1, the man who's played the pass. You've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got 7 players around and in their box. So we definitely did put the numbers forward yesterday. In, ball's just left his foot. From this position, we've got to be scoring. I know he takes it on the half turn, he swivels a little bit, but we really need to be doing better with these opportunities. He had another one in the second half, Randall, and I mean he's finding the positioning. I didn't think he played too badly yesterday. I felt a little bit sorry for him at times. I mean his touches, he had very very little touches, but if you watched him in the middle of that pitch, especially in that first half, he was moving around so much. We almost neglected the middle of the pitch a little bit, especially in that first half. Until Sheehan and Morley came on, we really didn't play through into the final third much in the middle at all. But we've got to be doing better from this position here. Right wing back, again, picking that ball up, and it ends up coming out over here, and he ends up being the spare man back post. But I just wanted to highlight how the move starts off with him. I think it comes into Rico Hackett, who takes a shot. It ends up coming out here. But he ends up spare back post again. We saw a lot yesterday. They found a spare man back post way more often than they should, and it took us a little bit longer than I would have liked to become aware that that's what they were trying to do. They must have found the man at the back post 3 or 4 times yesterday early on. And if you look, we've got the players back to be dealing with it. I mean, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players in our box. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to count in. We've got 7 virtually in the box, and they still managed to find the spare man. Little bit worrying, that one. But I mean, it does show that we're getting back and we're defending as a unit. Is that Sissoko's man? I don't know. It was difficult for the wingers yesterday because when they went and pressed up, we was just left with 2 men on our fullback. And then when they were coming in too deep to challenge their wing back or the centre back that was moving forward, it then becomes a problem because we were struggling to get out, and they penned us in at times. And it was just from that physical, we're going to put balls in your box and we're going to sit in and around your box. And they did it very well, especially in the first half. They did do it very well. Credit to Lincoln where it's due there. You can see he does manage to pick the ball up, and he picks it up in way too much space for the amount of players we've got in the box. Yeah, I wanted to highlight that this was a key problem yesterday. Luckily, we didn't score from it, but it was definitely a problem. I think if you was at the game, you would have noticed it yourself as well. They found that back post too often, and we didn't switch onto it anywhere near as quick as we should have done. Got into the second half, and I really want to talk about this man, Josh Sheehan. Wow, he changed the game yesterday. He was fantastic. He came onto the pitch. He changed the way we were playing. As you can see here, he's beaten his man. He's gone past him here, and this is what allowed us to really play in their half. Sheehan, as that deeper man with the freedom to drive on the ball, causes oppositions so many problems because he's very, very good at moving. He can turn very quickly, and he's got a very good pass on him. So if you go out and press and he beats you like this man has here, you're out of the game then, and it's a lot of running to get back in. So he allowed us to gradually in that second half start playing more and more in here. I thought he was absolutely fantastic yesterday. I just want to highlight here as well that as much as Mario was out wide and Cogley was inside more often, it weren't every single time. There was a little bit of switching there. I just wanted to highlight that. So we didn't think that it was just Mario was just forced out on that wing, and that's the only place he was. He did come inside a lot, just not as much as we've necessarily seen in the last few games. Here, the impact Sheehan has, especially highlighted here, passes into the final third, 12. 12 passes into the final third, the second highest in the game, and he was only on for 45 minutes. After their keeper as well, by the way, who was playing it very directly. Aaron Morley again with 10. And then if you look at the bottom, you've got Xavier Simmons with 3, and Ethan Eraham with even less than that. Don't know whether it was that we managed to get the information on of where to play and the positions to target at half time, and that made Morley and Sheehan's job a lot easier, or whether it was just Randall and Eraham really, really struggled in that first half to get it to our front men. I mean, they did, as you can see, and I think this is why the game sort of changed a lot more. We saw them sitting a lot deeper in the second half, and we controlled the game an awful lot more. And I believe it's because we was passing it into the final third. He couldn't come and press us because spaces would have appeared. It was a very, very good performance from Josh Sheehan yesterday. And I don't think Morley was too bad either. He played his role. I think he was just a bit outshone by Sheehan because, wow, what a performance that was. Changed the game completely for me. This is where Gale puts a really good ball in the box and Mario ends up handballing it into the back of the net, unfortunately. But it's a very good bit of movement from Mario staying on the blind side of his defender. It was a brilliant ball in from Gale. My issue, yesterday was we didn't do this anywhere near enough, and especially when we went to 2 strikers, we stopped putting the ball in the box as much as we had been, which even Schumacher said in his post-match press conference that that's something they'll be looking at because that really didn't make sense at all. But I just wanted to highlight how we managed to get the ball in here because we'd find it quite often we were struggling to find the space to do it, and it's because Burstow's here pinning this centre back, and that makes it a 2-on-2, which allows Gale the space to get the ball in. Because otherwise, this centre back either goes and helps covering here, which means Gale doesn't get the ball and Conway's got a 2v1, or he goes and helps against Gale, which creates a 2v1 here. Or this man can then come out because he's covering this space. So by Burstow being here, it just pins this centre back and doesn't allow him to come and help in any way, shape, or form, which helps us get the crossing. I like this as well because I think that we actually played 3 formations yesterday. I think we started off in the 4-2-3-1. I think we changed it in the second half to more of a 4-3-3, and then I think we went with a 2 up top. towards the end of the game. You can see here it was a midfield three for large portions of that second half. And it allowed Randall to make the third man run, and it allowed Morley to do the same on this right-hand side. We didn't see Randall on the ball an awful lot on this left. He did struggle to get in the game. Again, I'm not entirely sure that was down to him. I don't think we found him enough. I don't think we found these middle pockets anywhere near enough. And again, that could be because Lincoln's marking and space, the way they shut down the space was very good, and we just struggled to play in these areas. But here we end up going out to Conway. And because you've got Sheehan as the deeper 6 almost, and you've got your 2 8s, it allows them to go and roam a little bit more freely. Randall does. Conway does well to get down the line. Again, you've got Gale offering that inside pass. Not now, obviously, but he would have been earlier to help Conway get down there. Ball comes in. Randall takes a good shot. It's an excellent save by their keeper. It is an excellent save. From a Bolton perspective, should we be doing better? Yes. But it was a very, very good save. I can't deny that. But again, that third man run, allowing him to get that little bit more space here. It's a very good run. It's a brilliant pullback from Conway. It's just a shame it didn't end up in the back of the net, really. Still images now after we've brought Sam Dolby on and we went to 2 up top. And I just want to highlight how this changed the way we was allowed to play a little bit. As you can see, Dolby, and he did this an awful lot yesterday. He was looking to run in behind. I personally don't think we found the ball in behind enough. We didn't try and stretch their defence enough. However, if you do see how deep there is, it has to be how deep their back line is. It does have to be a very good ball to not overplay it or underplay it. So I can understand it from that point of view. But definitely let me know in the comments if you think we could have tried to turn their defence a little bit more. But because Dolby makes this run here, it allows Burstow to come inside. And I think Burstow coming inside allows him to make this run, because you can see this defender here follows Burstow. But it creates that little bit of space, and this is what 2 strikers will do. It'll drag defenders around. And again, the ability of Sheehan. Because what happens here is Burstow comes in. Sheehan goes right up to his man to make this man commit, and then plays it into Burstow to allow him this space here. Again, out wide, you've got a Mario slightly further wide than Cogley. Dolby ends up making this run into the space that Burstow's created. Sheehan ends up playing it past his man, who falls to the floor because he's trying to take the ball off him. And Burstow ends up in this lovely little bit of space. He ends up playing it into Cogley, plays it out to a Mario. Burstow waits for Cogley's run and then makes a little ghosting running behind himself. It was a very, very good little bit of forwards play. And he ends up with a shot off, actually. It was a really, really good bit of play from Burstow, this. Cogley picking it up. This ball then goes out to a Mario. Lovely little dink ball over to Burstow. He takes a lovely touch and he gets the finish. But this happens because Cogley makes that run with him as well, which makes this guy momentarily pause, because he's not sure which man he should be taking, which allows Burstow that space in behind. Good bit of play, this, actually. We win the free kick after their player goes down and handballs it in this area. But I just wanted to highlight this because I've mentioned a few times in previous games that Mario struggles with finding that pass through players every now and again. It's definitely something we've seen that's maybe a slight negative of his game so far. So I thought I had to highlight when he does it well as well. He's got 2 players here, the third here, and he manages to get this ball inside to Burstow, which is very good, and we obviously end up winning the free kick. It was a brilliant ball through. We did find ourselves in these type of spaces, though, where our wingers were coming in and getting crowded out way too much. And when you have the 2 strikers in the box, it would have been lovely to see. We get the free kick off this, so not necessarily on this occasion, but it would have been lovely to see us playing the fullbacks through a little bit more, because they were overlapping. As you can see, Cogley's here. They were in the positions where we could have played it. We just went a little bit too what's the word I'm looking for? We was I think it comes down to trying a little bit too hard to impress. But this ball here, again, going back to what this still image is meant to be about, brilliant ball into Burstow. We end up winning the free kick. Good free kick by Sheehan as well, especially from that position. Game that frustrated me more than any other, because in the box here you've got Toll, Johnston, you've got Dolby, you've got Burstow, and I think that's Cogley as well. You've got in there. You've got 5 players in and around that box making to make that run. You've got 2 centre halves. You've got 2 big strikers. And we weren't even contemplating putting it in there. I think we end up playing it around. No, we ended up going into Sheehan here actually, and he makes that mazy run, I think, or that might be slightly later on. But we turned down the opportunity. So when you've got 4 big players in that box, especially when it's 5 on 4, we needed to put it into the box. But Schumacher did say in his post-match interview, as I've said before, that when we got the 2 strikers on, we didn't put it in enough, and that's something we're definitely going to be looking at. Because there were opportunities here yesterday. All this is a little touch here, and you can fire that in. There were opportunities yesterday to get it into the box when we didn't. Just on Conway, I didn't think he was as good as he was. Yeah, as good as he has been so far this season. Yesterday, he looked a little bit tired, but with the amount of minutes he's played recently, it's sort of understandable that we could do with Richard Taylor taking the load off him a little bit and allowing him a bit of a break. Where we go into Sheehan and he makes that mazy run, and it's a brilliant move from Sheehan, and this is why I like him in that deeper role when we're playing in the opposition's half. Because look, this man has to come out to him. It causes space between the lines because they know they have to press Sheehan, and it allows him to drive from deeper. He doesn't have to pick the ball up and lay it off and make little turns, and he can pick it up and he can go from deep and drag them out, which he did very well yesterday. The mazy little run he made here and then the shot. It's a good save from the goalkeeper, but he really did change the game for us in the second half. Sheehan. From here to here, 5 players around him, still gets his shot off. It's good positioning from the keeper. Does well to get down to it. There's not many other options for Sheehan here. Takes the right option. I'm not going to say how good he was again because I think you've already guessed. I think he was very, very good in that game. To the goal. Now, as much as it probably was another 2 points drop yesterday, even though Lincoln did very, very well again, taking nothing away from them, you can't beat a last-minute goal to get you a point or 3 points, can you? It's brilliant. I was bouncing around yesterday. But I just wanted to highlight Toll here. He takes the ball out wide, and it's very smart because they've got the 3 players out here. And it's a very smart move not to just panic and launch it up the pitch from this position, which we could have done. He takes it out wide, plays it into a Mario who's dropped in deep, and the goal comes from this him taking this big touch out and having a little bit of a run with it rather than just launching it long, causing a duel and allowing these players to get back in. Plays it into a Mario. Mario then goes inside to Burstow, and I think we could have seen a lot more of this yesterday, using the middle third of the pitch, going in to be able to go back out. Because what happens, because he goes into Burstow, I think this man ends up slipping and he gets through to Burstow. The other defender has to come out a little bit because he's going to be worried that Burstow can turn and run. So by him coming out, it creates that little bit of a space to allow Mario to make that run. And we could have done this more yesterday, going inside the pitch to go back out, because what I found we did a lot of was playing it around, trying to find spaces out wide that weren't necessarily there because of the formation they was playing. But this was lovely. It goes in, as I say, he takes a little bit of a slip. Burstow plays a lovely ball back, and the rest, as they say, is history. History just yet because we're not finished talking about it. But Burstow plays this ball through here. Dolby's run here stops these defenders from going over and being able to help this man. So it creates that 1v1 that Amario takes, beats his man very well, gets a right-footed ball shot across, which was the right decision. Definitely the right decision. Creates that little bit of chaos into an area of uncertainty. And their player number 22, who we highlighted before, Mr. Hamer, the man who was taking all the time with the throw-ins, the man who was winning all the headers, sticks it into the back of his own net. A little bit unfortunate from his point of view. I'm not sure there's much he can really do about it. But we put it into that area and we got what we probably deserved. I don't think we deserved to lose the game yesterday. I think we was the better team. However, Lincoln did a very good job of shutting up shop up until the very last minute. The first half stats and the second half stats again, because there is a slight difference. Obviously, the possession, we have way more possession. And I said it in the last video, if you're losing a game, you're more likely to have the more possession, especially if it's only by 1, because you're the one chasing the game. But we did win the ball back more in their half. We won it 19 times in their half in the second half to 16 in the first half. I think that's because I personally think we didn't get their formation right in the build-up. And I think we had to switch to make up for that. Not that that's on the coaching staff. It was. I didn't expect it, and I don't think many people did. But again, here I've said a lot in this video how the midfield changed the game in that second half, and I think you can see it from the corners. 3 in the first half, 10 in the second half, which shows how much we are playing in their half. And again, successful dribbles, 3 in the first half, 6 in the second half. Because of the way Sheehan was playing, we allowed our more creative players like himself on that ball more, because he was dropping that little bit deeper, picking the ball up. They had to go and press him, and it created space in the final third for players to turn on the ball and have a run. So I really do think that that's why we was allowed more space in the second half. And going into that 4-3-3 shape as well gets your creative players on it that little bit deeper. So overall, yesterday there was negatives again. It was a frustrating watch at times. Do think a lot of that was down to the way Lincoln played. And again, that's not a dig at Lincoln. They did what they did very, very well. Just obviously as an opposition fan, very frustrating to watch. There's definitely things to improve on. There's some positives as well, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you're looking at the numbers, and you look at the underlying numbers, I think we're okay. Obviously, the points total doesn't look brilliant at the minute. But it's still early on in the season. If we can go on a decent run, this team haven't played together for very long either. When things start clicking that little bit more, they get a bit more used to each other. If we can go on a good run, I think we'll be completely fine. As I say, the underlying numbers are there. Definite negatives, definite positives. I've had fun doing this again. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. I will definitely be doing another one for the next game, and I shall catch you then. See you later.